I was talking about Nephilim free. Why would anybody like seriously take Nephilim free? He's just troll, from what I understand.
Well, I think that there is no problem if you posit that the event of the causation of the universe was not in time. It was a transition, and the cause and effect happened in the course simultaneously.
Is he here? Oh yeah, there he is. And someone left.
Yeah, okay, so
Right.
Tanjiro, here's the argument against Nephilim, right? Um, in order for something to in order for something to have a cause, right? It needs to come into being, right? Something that doesn't come into being doesn't have a cause, right? Now, in order for something to come into being, right, there needs to be a moment prior in time in which it doesn't exist, right? Since the universe is the sum of all time, space, and matter, there was no time prior to the universe, right? Therefore, there was no time at which the universe didn't exist. And therefore, the universe did not have a cause, right? Given premise one.
Yes, as I said, I disagree with that because everything that begins to exist has a cause, as Kalam, everyone knows it.
Hmm.
And if we posit that the event of the causation of the universe was a transition where cause and effect were simultaneously, then there is no problem which you are trying to state right now.
So, how can there be simultaneous causation? What differentiates the cause from the effect?
Well, at the moment where you actually um, uh, cause the instantiate um, the effect simultaneously occurs, so there is no time lapse, so there is no problem.
Yeah,
It is a transition.
what does it, what is causation? Like, what is causation? Can you give me a working definition of causation?
Yeah, it is bringing forward something which prior did not exist, and then you instantiate to cause it
Yeah,
into existence.
well, but that's just self-defeating. How can
Yeah,
something?
how can a
Yeah, there's
cause
no.
be prior to time? What does it make? Does it make
Yeah,
sense to say that a cause precedes the beginning of time, or just time in
yeah.
general?
You.
No, I
How
don't.
can there
I
be a?
don't posit it precedes it because as soon as you point say precedes, then you imply time. What I am saying
Yeah,
that
but you
God
just.
was existing in a timeless dimension where there was no yesterday, now, and tomorrow. God simply knew everything. He knows everything, and then He
Yeah,
willed the universe into existence. At the
yeah,
moment that
but
And
He
then,
well,
willed it into
yeah,
existence,
yeah, but look,
the
but
effect
intangible. Uh huh.
happened,
Uh huh.
and the cause and the fact that it was simultaneous, and there was a transition from a timeless dimension into a dimension in time.
How can there be a transition from a timeless dimension?
Well,
yeah,
I
and I
I
think
don't
that,
take
but
understand.
I think that the only causes that we know of, who do not need um, preconditions, is consciousness with will. So, for example, I can will to move my arm,
Yeah, in
and
time, right?
that doesn't
yeah.
require anything physical. I just command to
Well,
my
well,
brain, and then from
yeah, I
my
don't know why
brain
we would agree
commands
with
to
that,
my
but
But
to
look,
the neurons and to the
but
nerves, and then to
but
my
Doug,
hand,
Look,
and then I
a
start to
tangible,
write. So
yeah, look,
Otangelo,
a tangible, look. You define the cause as. Look, can you just give us your definition of a cause again?
the cause is something which instantiates something into existence.
Yeah, but that's just circular, right? What does it mean to instantiate?
Well, I don't need to go further. It just stops there. That's the explanation what the cause is.
No, but I'm saying, okay, so you're saying it. No, but I'm saying, like, can you give us a further analysis, right? Like,
No, and I don't think it is necessary because we all know what the cause is. So that is
well,
just
okay, look,
plainly
look,
speaking
look.
clear.
Let me demonstrate, right? So you say there are causes, great. Look, this is what we experience in the world. There is some event A, some event B, right? A and B generally hold true. we infer whenever A happens, B also happens. Now, here's my question. If there is no event A, right, at one time and event B at another time, how can you distinguish which causes which?
I don't know. I mean,
Oh, okay, you don't know.
Okay,
Well,
my
okay, how about this? How about this? What if we just said, given that you
I,
don't know, that
okay,
there is no
I thought
distinction?
about it. So God is the cause, and the starting of the universe to the singularity, which then starts to expand, and the instantiation of energy, matter, space, and time. That is the effect.
No,
but
but
look,
what I'm
even
asking is, what's the what? How do you look? I don't think you understand my question. I'm saying, look, when you say all things that begin to exist have a cause, I'm saying, look,
No, that's
when
not
we
what I am saying.
with
I'm saying that everything that
uh-huh.
begins to exist has a cause. The universe
Oh, and
started
I
to
yeah,
exist,
that's exactly what I
therefore it had a
said.
cause. Now let me quote you
Yeah,
here from
uh-huh.
Craig. He says, God must causally, but not temporally, be prior to the Big Bang. With the creation
Yeah,
of
and I'm
the
asking how
universe,
that's
time
possible, right?
began, and God entered into time at the moment of creation in virtue of his real relations with the created order. It
Yeah, and I'm saying,
follows
how is it
that God
possible?
must
No, no,
and
look,
that's
I
therefore
know
be
what
just and
Craig,
that's
timeless,
look.
without
I know
feeling of
what Craig says.
encapsulate the universe.
You don't need to read to me the whole quote. I understand. Look, what I'm saying is that Craig is claiming that something could be causally prior without being temporally prior. I'm saying that's a fundamentally incoherent notion. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we witness cause and effect in every single situation, right, we witness the cause being prior to its effect, right, in some respect, right, either in time or in some other dimension,
Well, I already
right?
explained that to you. I said the
Now,
cause of the Big Bang operated at 2, that is simultaneously
yeah,
or
but that just begs the
coincidentally
question.
with the Big
That just
Bang.
begs the
And
question.
Yeah, that's just
That's
philosophical
just
assuming.
begging the
That's
concept of
just
question,
causal
assuming.
right? I'm saying how,
directionality
yeah, I'm saying how can
routinely
there
treats
be, yeah,
simultaneous
I'm saying
causation. The
how is there,
question being how
yeah,
to
yeah,
distinguish
you're just
A
begging the
as the
question.
cause and B as the effect when these occur together at the same time. Okay, so even on a mundane
Uh-huh.
level, we regularly experience simultaneous causation.
How so?
Well,
You
so
don't look, dog. Even if he grants that there's some sort of contemporaneous causation for the beginning of the universe, he literally said before he started before he started quoting Craig that God had the desire to create the universe and then he created the universe. How
Look,
is and then not a
well, he's saying it's
temporal
causally
notion?
prior. It's causally prior. But look,
Yeah, but that's just
look,
assuming that causation isn't just a temporal notion, and I
yeah,
only
look,
conceive causation being a
look,
temporal notion.
yeah, exactly. Look, tangible. Look again. Like you're claiming that everything that begins to exist has a cause. I'm saying, yeah, I agree that we like most things that we think begin to exist have a cause. I'm saying that um, when you say cause there, what I take you to mean is just the sort of human view of, A happens, then B happens, right? And A entails B, and we could distinguish cause and effect by either its dimension in time, or if you have an example of like time travel, um we could distinguish it. Well, actually, I don't think time travel would even be a problem here because of time would need to like loop back on itself and stuff like that. So it's not. It wouldn't really be an issue here, right? So now, when you say that there can be a cause, right, outside of time, or that if like causation is some kind of primitive notion, what I'm gonna ask you is, what is the evidence that such a concept actually obtains? Like, what is the notion that causation, in the way you define it, actually exists, right?
well, the alternative would be that absolutely nothing instantiates the singularity and the expansion of the universe and all in it, which is matter, energy, space, and time. And
No, but
this is
I'm saying, but I'm saying, is there? Can you,
meaningless or
No,
senseless
I understand.
proposition because we know that
No, but
nothing
I'm
has no
saying,
causal powers.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
since we
But I'm
know that
saying,
there was no
yeah, yeah.
universe and then there was a universe, then of course something had to instantiate it, right?
Why? Why? What's the argument for
Well, the argument is that nothing has no causal power. Something cannot come from nothing.
Yeah, but why can't we just say
Yeah,
it
what's
had
the
no
argument
cause?
that God's
Yeah,
causal power
why
was?
couldn't we just say? Why couldn't one second? Why couldn't we just say that it had no cause?
I just told you because something can come from nothing. Nothing has no causal power.
But I'm saying there is no cause, right?
And I am saying that nothing has no causal powers. Since there was no
Yeah, I
universe
know
and then
nothing
there
has
was
no
a
causal.
universe,
I'm saying
and
I
that means that the
understand.
universe had a beginning, then there
I
had to be
understand.
something which caused the universe into
You don't need to
existence.
ramble. You don't need to ramble. Look, I'm saying that I understand that something doesn't have causal powers. What I'm saying
I
is that
can hear you.
what difference does it make, right? I'm saying I'm not positing that nothing caused the universe. I'm saying that the universe had no cause. There was no cause, right?
And I
There's
am
no
telling you
causation.
that if you have no cause, you cannot have an effect.
Well, but I'm not. Of course, but that's trivial. But I'm saying the
No,
universe
that's not
isn't an effect.
trivial.
I'm saying the universe isn't an effect. It didn't have a cause. Right? I'm
And I am
saying it
telling
doesn't
you,
have.
if it has no cause, will it pop up out of absolutely nothing?
That's a
It didn't
temporal
pop. It
notion.
didn't pop out of anything.
And so you are telling me that it had no cause. That's meaningless. That's senseless because nothing
Why
has
is
no
that
cause.
meaningless?
Because
Why
nothing
is that
has no because
meaningless?
nothing has no causal powers.
It's not being caused by nothing. It
It's
just
not.
doesn't have a cause.
Yes. So what? So if it had no cause, then there was no causal agency. So we are here in terms that you are stating that nothing created it, which is meaningless, which is senseless.
Oh my God,
Why
are
is
you
it
like
meaningless?
why look Tangelo, like why are you this stupid? No offense, but like you're seriously like look, we're
The
explaining to you a
statement just
Yes,
billion
you are
conforms
offending
times.
me
with
because
reality.
I
Like
was very
you're
clear. There are basically two possibilities here. Either the universe had a cause or it had no cause. What is it?
yeah. Yeah, I'm saying it had no cause.
Okay, so you are claiming basically, in other words, that nothing created it.
No.
How
Yes,
does that follow?
yes,
Look, you're saying look,
yes,
you're
that's what you are
treating
claiming.
nothing.
That is your
Look,
alternative.
you're treating nothingness as if nothingness is a cause. I'm saying that it had no cause. There was nothing, there was no causation involved.
Had no cause is not identical to reflexively to nothing caused the universe or nothingness caused the universe. He's just conflating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
just
doesn't
we're
What
saying
follow.
is
there's
the
no
distinction
causation.
you are playing with words here?
Yeah, the distinction is in one scenario, right? You have an event A, right, that leads to event B, right? In the other
So
scenario,
there
you
was
just
just
have
one
event
event
B,
that is the
right?
cause that the universe started. The universe began to exist. So you have two possible explanations here. One is that nothing created it. The other is that the cause something caused it into existence. Which of
Yeah,
the
why
two
can't we just
options are
say
you
why
positing?
can't we just
Can I
say
say
that
something?
no, no,
Let
that's not
let
a
let
true
him chime in.
dichotomy. We could just say that there was no creation. There was no cause.
Okay, so
There's
then
no
you are
causation.
claiming that nothing caused the universe into existence, which is
No, no,
absurd.
no. Do you understand the distinction
Wait,
between saying um nothing caused something and saying something didn't have a cause,
It's the
right?
same
No, there actually
thing.
isn't a difference. The
You're
point is
playing
that
How
with
is that the
nothing.
words.
same thing?
You are playing
No,
with
I can't
How
do
is
it.
words.
that
Let
the
me one
same
hey,
second.
thing?
It's
hey,
very clear.
you guys, wait. Go, Quan, go ahead.
Yeah, nothing isn't a thing. So you're speaking of it as if it's a thing, right? It doesn't mean like the meaning of the word is referring to no thing.
Yeah, so
It doesn't have a
either a
there's no
Yeah, so
reference.
non-thing
what's the problem with
created
the
the
universe being
universe
uncaused,
or
right?
something created the universe. That's a true dichotomy. That's
Look,
all
I'm
what you
saying
have to pick.
what's the
Why
contradiction
do
with
you
saying
interrupt me when I am talking?
because you're strawmanning us, right?
No, I am not strawmanning you.
Right.
I am not strawmanning you. I am being very clear with my proposition. I understand that there is a true dichotomy. Either the universe had a cause or not. If you claim that it had no
Okay.
cause, that means that nothing basically created it. What is
No,
it
How
but
does
and
that
you're
why?
follow?
saying that as if
What?
nothing is
It
a
could just
thing.
That
be
doesn't follow.
eternal, not that nothing was involved in it.
Yeah, look, all it means to say that the universe had no cause is just that even if it had a beginning, right? Let's just say it had a beginning, like it had a first moment, right? It just means that that first moment had no cause. It's just like a
Yeah, so
brute fact.
nothing created it. How is that logical or
No,
reasonable?
not
Well,
nothing.
what's the
Hey,
contradiction?
Ontangelo, can I ask
Well,
you a
what's the
question?
contradiction?
It's
Yeah,
fine
please.
to just agree with him here and just say, yeah, nothing created it, but nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the
Daddy,
contradiction?
Daddy Smoke asks.
Yeah, go there.
Can you explain how that follows? Because I'm not seeing how it follows.
Who are you asking?
What's the entailment, right?
What's the argument for that, right?
Who
Wait, are
you
you
asking?
guys?
No, look.
Can I
It's
say something? Wait,
what
there.
Otangelo. No, Frank. No. Yeah, after I'm done. So
Okay.
the whole thing is that even if we grant right Otangelo's notion of contemporaneousness, how does it follow that contemporaneous causation is reflexively identical to atemporal causation? What's the argument for that? What's the
Right.
argument that causation can happen outside of time? The simultaneous does not mean immutable. It just means that the cause happens
At
at
the
the
same
same
time.
time as the effect. It doesn't say that that this is working under an immutable realm necessarily. So what's the argument?
That's what I am saying. I'm saying that God, beyond the physical universe, um, existed in a timeless, immutable dimension, and then He willed the universe into existence at
And
the
then he
moment that I
willed the
finished,
You're just
universe.
please. Can I
reasserting
So
your
how did
finish,
I
stance.
don't
please?
know,
Why are you
Daddy Smoke, Daddy
interrupting me?
Smoke.
Can I finish now my sentence? So, at the moment that He willed the universe into existence, He caused it, and cause and effect was simultaneous, and He enters time. What is the problem?
Yeah, and
I'm
that's the
saying, yeah,
problem that I'm taking issue with, because you say that he exists in this immutable dimension, and within this immutable dimension where there is no change, there is a moment in time
I didn't say there was a
in which he
moment in time.
decided to.
I didn't say that.
Well,
You're
you just said,
strawmanning
and
me.
then. God had the desire to create the universe, and then he created it. How is and then not a temporal notion?
I
That's what
didn't.
That's what I'm asking
Say
you.
desire. I didn't say and then. I said just that He existed in a timeless dimension, which was changeless, where He knew everything, and He willed the universe into existence, and there was that change, that transition, which was the beginning of the universe, where cause and effect were simultaneous.
I heard an and.
Well, it's yeah. So his will, and then, right? And we're arguing like, how is that? How is that any in any sense of the word immutable? That's what we're arguing against you
yeah.
about.
Look, Artangelo,
Well,
it's like very.
maybe
I
I
mean,
don't have an understanding and explanation and answer to your question, but then we also have
That's
to put
okay.
all the possible explanations on the table. And if you say that there was no cause, then you remain with no cause at all, and then it would mean that nothing instantiated the universe, which is absurd.
why is that? No, what's the contradiction with saying
It
there's
has
nothing that
nothing to do with the
instantiated?
contradiction. It is ontologically impossible that absolutely nothing can instantiate something.
Okay, so what? Okay, so what's the problem if it's not a contradiction?
The problem is that nothing has no causal powers because nothing is by
Yeah, I
means
agree. Nothing has no causal powers.
absolutely
Yeah,
nothing. That
yeah,
there
I
was
agree. I
no
agree that
something.
nothing has no causal powers. I agree.
Yeah,
So what?
So
So what? I'm not
you
positing a
just
cause. So what? Well, why would I need causal powers if I'm not
well,
positing a
because
cause?
nothing has no causal powers. That's why.
Yeah, I know. Why?
Look,
I'm saying, why would I
he's
need causal
saying
powers?
nothing.
Because only if you have a cause, you can instantiate something. If you don't have a cause, you cannot. That's very simple and very basic.
But I'm not saying the universe was caused. I'm not saying it was
Okay,
caused. I'm
okay,
saying
okay. I am
it had a
sorry with
first
you.
moment in
I mean,
time.
if you are not saying it, you imply it. It is obvious. You have two
Why am I
possibilities.
implying it?
Okay,
How am I
let's
implying
play
it?
let's play word games. If you don't want
How
to
am I playing
understand,
word
you're entitled
games?
to. I think I made my case. If you don't understand or reject it, it's up to
Wait,
you.
can
We
I
are
provide an
running
No, but I'm
example in
asking.
which
here.
But I'm
what he's saying
asking
is
you.
possible?
Yeah, but I'm asking. Look, I'm asking you. Look, what I'm asking you, right, is how am I implying the universe had a cause by saying it had no cause?
Because either it had a cause or it had not a cause. That's the two
Yeah, I'm saying it
dichotomy.
didn't have a cause. I'm
Okay,
saying it didn't have
so
a
you are
cause.
claiming that nothing created it. I am restating for the tenth
That's not the
time
same
now
thing.
what that
That's
implies. And
not the
if you
same
are not
thing.
understanding it,
That's not the same
it's
thing.
yes, it
That's
is
not
the
the
same
same
thing.
thing.
You don't have any other
How
option.
is that the same thing?
Okay, I'm done.
No. You're not. Look,
Oh my.
I don't understand. I don't understand. We're being very like charitable. Look, you're saying. Look, what I'm saying is that the universe had no cause, right? You're saying, well, nothing couldn't have caused the universe because nothing doesn't have causal powers. Then I clarify and say, I know it doesn't have causal powers. There's no issue with that because we don't need causal powers.
Okay,
I'm not
I
saying there
told you
was a
that I'm done
cause,
with
right?
that argument and with you, so I will not repeat what I already said and clarify. So if you didn't
So are
understand
you?
it, that's your
Okay,
problem,
Okay,
not
so
mine.
go ahead and talk to someone. Okay, so anybody else
Yes,
want
I
to
would
have a
like to
go
talk
ahead?
to someone else.
Sure, I'll talk to him.
yeah,
So are you
maybe
conceding? Sorry, you can go.
maybe I could
Let
just try
Daddy
and
Smoke
clarify.
ask him.
Okay, sure.
So are you conceding that it's not logically impossible for the universe to begin to exist without a cause?
Yes.
Said yes.
I just want. I didn't hear that clearly.
Yes. Your sentence uh, is not logically incoherent. So go ahead now.
Okay, so if it's not logically incoherent, what why couldn't I posit that as the explanation for the universe rather than your God hypothesis?
Yes, you can posit it, but it is immediately refuted by the fact that absolutely nothing means that there was nothing that could have done something. Therefore, it could not instantiate something. Something cannot come from nothing.
Mm. Didn't you just agree that that was possible?
No, I said that you didn't make a logical error in your sentence. That are different things. Logic is one thing, ontological possibility is another. Absolutely nothing is the absence of anything, and obviously therefore cannot instantiate something.
Wait, what's ontological possibility? I've never heard of that.
Okay,
It just means what can exist in reality,
right.
whether or not it's a contradiction.
Whether or not it's a contradiction, but he already agreed that there wasn't a contradiction.
Yeah, I'm
So
saying he's saying it's not contradictory, but it's metaphysically impossible.
Correct.
and what's the criterion for that? Like, how
Do
do
you
you go
understand
from?
what absolutely nothing is? Please explain
Hmm?
it to me.
Pardon?
What means absolutely nothing?
Just means all existential propositions are false and all non-existential propositions are true.
What is the contrary of something?
Well, okay, yeah, right.
Okay, sure. No, Tangela, you were saying?
Are you still not understanding what nothing means?
No,
I
he
thought we already came up
understands
with
it.
a definition.
Okay, good. So we are agreeing in agreement that absolutely nothing cannot do something because it is the absence of anything, right?
Okay. Yes.
Okay,
And
so your only alternative is that there has to be a cause which instantiates the universe.
okay, that doesn't follow.
Yes, it
What we
follows
can say is
because we have a true dichotomy here. Either the universe had a cause or it had no cause. If you agree with me that no cause cannot instantiate something, then obviously it had a cause.
no. I just don't think those are two identical statements. nothing caused the universe and the universe had no cause. I don't think those are identical statements given the definition of nothingness.
I'm not going to play word games with you. Okay?
How is this a word game, right? One is affirming the existence
Would
of a
someone else
cause,
like to
and
have a
is just
conversation
saying that the
with me? Because
cause
I'm
is
done with you
nothingness.
both. Okay?
In one scenario, you're affirming, right?
Wie heißt du übrigens? R4.
Ich glaube, ich mag es einfach L4 genannt zu werden.
Okay. Möchtest du mit mir quatschen, weil
Sure.
ziemliche,
Klar. Sure, I try.
Okay.
So, I think an example of so I think something that could help your intuitions more is like a B theory of time, maybe. So you have I know they meant something different.
I'm sorry. We had that conversation already, and I don't want to go through it again. Why I don't think that is a plausible scenario.
But he's just using it as a thought experiment.
Yeah.
Ontangelo, would you say that there's a third option? Like, your dichotomy doesn't make sense. Could you say something along the lines of something either caused the universe, nothing, or I wouldn't say nothing because that's an odd thing. We're saying not something caused the universe, or there is a third understanding upon which we don't understand because this is our epistemology and we shouldn't confuse it with ontology.
Yeah, what can be asserted without evidence can be discarded without evidence. If you don't know the third option, then it doesn't have to be considered.
But you're the one asserting, and I'm saying I don't know. There's possibly a third option because we still have to discover the ontology of the universe to figure that kind of shit out.
Well, did you understand what I just said? I said that if you claim that there might be a third option, but you have no evidence for it, then my answer is what can be claimed without evidence can be discarded without evidence. Since you have no evidence of the third option, so I am justified and warranted to discard it.
I do have evidence. Here's my evidence. We often like to say that we can guess the ontology of the universe, but we are wrong. Even when we pose these dichotomies, it is not appropriate to look forward and say, therefore this or therefore that. Given the same example of mathematicians trying to prove God, x times y equals God, but x times y also refutes God, so solve for x and y. Science, when you're using science like that, and you say, well, either something caused or nothing caused, I would say science is saying we don't know, right? It could be something that would be completely different from the concept of cause, which is really what Dog J. Throbbin here is trying to tell you, is that the concept of a cause, right, couldn't even apply to the ontological beginning or whatever happened before the universe. Why are you asserting that true? Why are you asserting this dichotomy?
I didn't claim it before the universe. I said that there was a cause beyond the physical universe, which was eternal, changeless, and timeless, and then willed the universe into existence. And since minds can cause things without any physical preconditions, so he willed the universe into existence and created it through his power.
So you know all the properties of the universe for that statement to be true?
I don't have to.
You don't have to. So you know that the universe has to work with cause and effect. And anything that created the universe has to work with cause and effect. And cause and effect will always be a concept in our space-time with just how much you know about the universe. That's what you're claiming?
The cause and the effect can have been simultaneous. There was no temporal interval from the cause to the effect. It happened simultaneously.
Could you have a naive understanding of something and nothing and a dichotomy and creationism and how the universe came to be? Could you have a naive understanding with how little we know about the universe to even to come to those conclusions?
Well, I think
this isn't really an interesting criticism.
To make an intelligible and plausible and logical scenario here. And besides the evidence which we have, which is through science, which then could cosmology, which states that the universe most likely had a beginning, we have also direct revelation through the Bible. So these are two legs which warrant us to hold that view, which I hold.
Well, Revelation looks to have failed as far as predictable powers in a system that can actually give us the
Yeah,
ontology of what's
Yeah, I
happening.
don't.
But let me
Well,
give you an
can we?
example. Let me give you an example. Hold on, Jay Thor, I'm gonna let you finish. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to talk about evidence. Many people sat around the volcano saying that we need to either throw more virgins in, we need to scapegoat, or we need to pray hard enough, and nobody guessed tectonic plates. So humans are very terrible at guessing the ontology of the universe, and I'm curious why you think you're so good.
I'm not saying that I am so good. I think I go with Romans 1:19-22 in the Bible, which says that creation points to a creator. And that is something which we know intuitively to be true. And we have science, and science has moved us a bit forward to understand from the macro to the micro, from the cosmos to the biochemistry, to atoms, to subatomic particles. And what we see is that there is an unfolding order and complexity and stability of and that demands an explanation. And I don't know any other principle besides intelligence which can instantiate the things that we see in the natural world.
The scientific method is the best method we have used to predict these things. So the scientific method is what you're leaning on right now, and it has been the best method for us to move forward. But it does not make claims about the ontological before universe. It only makes claims about what it can prove and what it can show as a theory. It does not say what is and that happened before, and it does not claim a God.
Yeah, I am not using scientism in my epistemological framework. I use philosophy
Really?
and theology as well, besides science. I can quote you here from Johannes Kepler. He said, when things are in order, if the cause of the orderliness cannot be deduced from the motion of the elements or from the composition of matter, it is quite possibly a cause possessing a mind. So
Did
um,
Kepler know everything?
we don't have to know everything. What we can do is based on the knowledge that we do have, making logical deductions or abductive reasoning to the best explanation. And I think that the knowledge that we do have permits us reasonably to infer design and an intelligent creator as the more case adequate and potent causal principle of the created order which we observe in the universe compared
I
to
agree
random
where
unguided
you're
events,
coming from.
which basically when you remove God as a causal principle from the equation, then you remain with nothing.
I agree where you're coming from,
Yeah.
Angelo,
So
but
I
to
just wanted to
introduce
point
Jace
out.
Robin here, let me respond real quick. Introduce Jace Robin. Your logic, if it was flawed, would you want to know at all about your logic that you're trying to use for your inference rules?
Yes, we are having a conversation, and obviously, if you have a case which is more logical, plausible, and rational, and I hope that I am sufficiently unbiased to recognize that, then obviously I would move my worldview and position from theism eventually to atheism. So if you think that atheism or materialism or naturalism has more explanatory power in regards of our origins, but hey, be my guest, explain to me how we can exist without a creator.
Tangela, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm still not
I
hearing you.
didn't. I
yes,
didn't
you
hear
can
that
you
either.
can ask.
Do you think theism is more parsimonious than naturalism?
What do you mean by parsimonious?
Basically, just more in line with Occam's razor, just as a simplified
Oh, okay,
definition.
okay. Well, I think following Occam's razor um, is a good method, but you cannot use it to reduce everything. That means in order to have a certain kind of complexity, you can reduce, but you cannot reduce too much because otherwise the cause is not sufficient to explain the complexity in question.
But it just sounds like he's saying yes, that God is necessary, like his attributes are necessary to explain the complexity in the universe. So he's saying, yeah, it's in one with Occam's razor.
Okay, so since naturalism is making less ontological assumptions, right? It's not assuming an omniproperty God. It's not assuming a mind. It's not assuming this mind is outside of time and space. These properties would have to be necessary in order for them to be in line with Occam's razor. So why would I think they're necessary, Antangelo?
Well, you have basically two competing hypotheses here. One is where there is intelligence involved, and the other where there is no intelligence involved. Okay? Now the thing is that what we see here is a state of affairs where you have a universe which is just right, which has the right values, the right physical constants, which are necessary to have a life-giving universe. You have forces which are constant, which must be secured. They could be the four fundamental forces. They could be oscillating or popping in and out constantly into existence. And there is nothing further that would ground them. And then if you do not posit a creator which secures them, then everything basically would become possible. And then you have, in regards of the origin of life, you see instructional assembly information instantiating complex multi-part machines which are proteins, which work in a clockwork fashion together. So I think these are all things which are best explained by the action of a very intelligent designer, which made all these things with a specific purpose in mind.
Okay, so why couldn't all those things be explained by naturalistic properties?
Well, first
Is
of
it because
all,
they're too complex?
well, we can start with the laws and constants of physics. You have basically an infinite range of possible forces, and if we would expect a naturalistic universe, then eventually any kind of values um, would be there in these forces, and almost all of them there would be no life permitting. And only if we posit an intelligence with a goal in mind and with foresight would instantiate precisely the values which then would be life permitting. And we are talking here about hundreds and hundreds of different precisely tuned constants which must be just right. That starts with the expansion of the universe, with the fundamental forces of the atoms, with the fine-tuned planet Earth, with fine-tuning biochemistry, where the nucleobases in nucleotides must be just the right ones in order to have quantum-phase pairing. So that is one thing. And as I told you before, whenever we see a blueprint or instructional assembly information to make a device for a specific purpose, we know that intelligence is a capable mechanism to instantiate that blueprint. We have no evidence whatsoever that unguided random events could create blueprints.
Okay, so I don't understand how theism could explain all of that given the belief in miracles, that God is capable of violating these natural fine-tuning laws that he's created, so they could be anything else so long as God creates some miracle to will it that way.
Well, if he is the creator of the laws of physics, of course he can also temporarily remove them in order to make a miracle. So I see absolutely no problem.
So then how do you account for the uniformity of nature if you can temporarily violate them? How would you be sure that the laws of physics, the laws of electromagnetism are going to be here tomorrow?
This problem wouldn't be there on naturalism because there wouldn't be a mind with intelligence. who has these
Yeah, natural
arbitrary whims.
processes don't run under the same issue because they don't appear to have conscious whims, whereas minds, by definition, do.
Well, God secures the universe in order to be stable, the fundamental forces, the laws of physics, and
What's
everything.
the argument that that's necessarily the case?
Well, I gave you the argument. If you remove God
No,
from
that it's necessarily the case. You said you even conceded that it was possible, right, given under your account that your account is true and that it accounts for more of the data than naturalism. But we're talking about, can you account for God necessarily, right? That these laws have to derive from an intelligence, and I just see that you haven't answered adequately that question.
Well, as I told you previously, um, under naturalism, we should expect either no universe whatsoever, because in order to have a universe, you need to derive expansion rate, and you can have basically a limitless number of values of the field.
Well, there's no nomological contradiction in natural processes accounting for expansion rates. I don't see the issue.
What I'm trying
Like,
to
where is the nomological impossibility that what you just said couldn't happen? Do you know what nomological impossibility is?
know.
It's basically something that it is impossible that it could happen, given how the laws of nature work, right?
Well, what we
So
try
I'm
to
asking.
find is
So I'm asking you, how is it, given our understanding of how the laws of nature function, why can't the natural processes on their own account for the expansion rates? Because there doesn't seem to be any sort of contradiction with the natural processes accounting for these things and the laws of nature as we understand them.
yeah.
That's what I mean by nomological here.
Okay. The values, constants, and parameters for a life-permitting universe must exist within a finite range for the existence of biological life to be possible. These constants and fine-tuned parameters could have taken any of the infinite number of different values. The probability of it occurring by chance approaches close to zero, but it is in practical terms factually zero. Best explanation is an intelligent agent that had the goal in mind, that is to create a contingent being designed our life for this universe.
What's the contradiction?
But you realize that that's not that it's usually a trichotomy that's presented between chance, design, and necessity. So why is necessity so improbable that it can't explain the expansion rates and how we understand our finite universe?
Yes, these values could basically take any value, and that is precisely the fine-tuned problem which is acknowledged in cosmology. Basically, all physicists they know that there is fine-tuning in the universe, and that the values which actually.
Well, no, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you for the authority of physicists on this issue. I'm asking whether or not you think that the laws of nature as we understand them couldn't just be necessary.
Yeah. Um, at the very beginning, there was a unified force which was very compressed and concentrated in a singularity. And then when the evolution or expansion or inflation of the universe happened, these forces changed, okay? And they became the four fundamental forces that we know, which is gravity, electromagnetism, the storm, and the weak force. So since there was that transition, that means that there is no physical necessity to have just one value.
I don't see how that. I don't see how that follows. Necessary here just means that it just couldn't be otherwise, right? There could be transitions.
Right, since there was
right,
a
there
transition,
could be transitions.
Since there was a transition, that means that the forces they are not further fundamental. Okay, so When science actually tries to understand the fundamental properties of nature, they have been discovered and described, and the values that are given and put into the equations to have the values that we have, um, they cannot be predicted. You could put another kind of value, and an example, for example, is the mass of a proton and the mass of a neutron. They are composed of quarks, and quarks, they have different masses. So you can combine them differently, and as soon as you combine them differently, then you will not have a state of affairs of neutral
Yeah,
charge.
Doug, do you think any of
So
this follows?
so what I'm saying here, I'm answering
See, that answers
precisely
your question.
what you are saying now. There can be a different state of affairs where atoms are differently composed with a different combination of quarks, and then you would not have neutral atoms, but you would have ions with charge, and they would annihilate in a fraction of a second, and there would
And
be
is
no
that
atoms,
process, and is
no
that,
matter, no periodic table, no molecules, and we wouldn't be here having this conversation. So there
no,
is no physical
then I could just,
necessity for
Otangelo,
atoms having the composition that they have.
Otangelo, but what you said about the transition could just equally be matched. Like, why wasn't the transition for these ions and these things being composed of matter? Why couldn't the transition for those things coming to be necessary? I don't see the problem.
Well, as I told you, we have atoms which are stable, but we also know that there are atoms which are not stable. So we have the possibility of the two states of affairs. So that means that there is no physical necessity for atoms to be stable. But if atoms wouldn't be stable, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. So the fact that atoms are stable and that they are held together with forces that they have, and that the charge is plus charge of electrons and protons and neutrons, they cancel out, and then you
But
can
I think
have stable atoms.
you're just ruling out physical necessity because you have this notion that physical necessity is just causally impotent to make atoms be stable over time. But the necessitarian could just respond and say, well, why can't atoms functioning in a stable manner be necessary over time? It's like, why is that a problem? Why isn't
As
atoms being stable over time not a necessary function of the
Yeah,
universe?
as soon as I can demonstrate you that there can be a different state of affairs, your claim of physical necessity is falsified.
Well, how does that follow? He's just saying that the life permitting atoms or stuff, they're the way they are and they couldn't be otherwise. How is demonstrating a different state of affairs is otherwise at
But
all a defeater?
yeah, that's what I tried to explain to you during all the answers I gave already. So I would have to repeat myself. Okay, so it is an extreme position to take and to claim that the universe could not be non-life permitting. But I can imagine without any problem a universe where everything would be equal, but where we would not have a moon which goes around the Earth. And as soon as that would be the case, there would be no life on Earth. Okay, so I could also imagine a state of affairs where there are nucleobases, nucleotides, with a different isomeric composition and different atoms in the ring structure, and then you could not have hydrogen forces binding them to have Watson-Crick base pairing. Then you wouldn't have an information peering or semantophoretic molecule which is the DNA, and then there would also be no life. So the claim that we would eventually exist because of physical necessity is a very, very extreme extreme position, and I've just refuted it, I guess.
Well, refute. So what exactly? Because so do you have an actual study that does the Bayesian probability for how an intelligence is more likely than, let's say, physical necessity, like a paper?
Well, as soon as I explained to you that it is perfectly possible to have a non-life permitting universe, the claim of physical necessity is refuted, and I just did that. So I don't need to give you further
Or,
explanation.
but where? Yeah, but I'm asking the arguments, right? Not the way that you think that a mind accounts for these laws of the universe as you conceive of them in comparison to them being physically necessary. I'm asking for an argument, right? I'm not asking like from how you think an intelligence accounts for these things, right?
You
So
want an argument?
why is
Okay,
it why is it
I'll give you an argument. The existence of a life-permitting universe is very improbable on the naturalism and very likely on theism. A universe formed by naturalistic unguided means would have its parameters set randomly, and with high probability there would be no universe at all. The fine-tuned parameters of the right expansion rate of the universe would most likely not be met. In short, a randomly chosen universe is extraordinarily unlikely to have the right conditions for life. A life-permitting
I
universe
don't.
is likely on theism, since a powerful, extraordinarily intelligent designer has the ability of foresight and knowledge of what parameters, laws of physics, and finely tuned conditions would permit a life-permitting universe. Under Bayesian terms, design is more likely rather than non-design. Therefore, the design inference is the best explanation for a finely tuned universe.
I don't see the entailment that naturalism is the fine-tuning parameters are just arbitrary and random. Why couldn't there be some naturalistic explanation as to why they are the way they are,
Well,
as opposed
I
to being
mean, if
random?
you claim that there is evidence, well, provide it to me. As long as you cannot, I will reject the hypothesis and the possibility.
Wait, didn't he claim that theism was necessary for that or something? I
No,
could be wrong.
no,
no
I
because
didn't say
it's
it's necessary. I said it's more
Okay, I'm
likely.
okay.
probable.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
You want to ask him any?
No, I don't have any more questions for him.
Okay, guys, I think I'm going to leave today since already we talked for over an hour.
Dog, are you there?
Yeah, what's up?
You wanted to ask him anything?
No, that's it.
All right.
Okay, guys, have a good one. See you next time.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.